Hi everybody, welcome back. We got another beautiful day here at the Spy for Derick's Daily Dose. We're going to finish up on putting today. Yesterday we went into kind of posture, setup, some techniques in the motion, and really worried about distance control. Today we're going to delve into reading greens and a lot of alignment. Okay, so in regards to reading greens, most everybody uses the same thing, their eyes. And when they use their eyes, they're really trying to get a topography of what's going on here. They're trying to figure out, if it breaks one way, if it breaks the other way, if it's uphill or if it's downhill. And there's no like rocket science to this. It's pretty rudimentary stuff. I think if anything, people they don't give their eyes enough information, and they trust their eyes too much. And your eyes can play tricks on you, and we'll get into that, especially in regards to your alignment. And so we'll get into some things to make sure that you're training your eyes properly. We'll get into some things to make sure that you're giving your eyes as much information as possible. And then really we'll get into kind of some subsidiary things and some other outside entities that really factor into how balls break and how putts react. So generally when I see most individuals, they turn around, they get behind and they take a read. So the way that the human eyes work, they can see topography, or they can see hills pretty good on one plane, on a flatter plane. So from behind the ball, you can see really good your right to lefts or your left to rights. But then what I see a lot of times is people end up going behind and taking a different view from it. So again, your eyes are seeing the same thing. They're actually seeing a little bit better on what happens around the hole. So I definitely suggest that. But I think what a lot of people miss is the time in between standing behind the ball and standing behind the hole. And I am in no way, shape, or form trying to preach, taking longer to read your putts. There's a time and a manner in which to do this where you can do it time effective. You can do it while other people are in the middle of putting. But in the walk from behind the ball to behind the hole, you can be gathering information. Well, what information is that? One, how far the putt is, right? So you're walking there anyways. Pace it off so you have a general idea of how long the putt is. Most everybody, when they turn around and they gauge a putt, they don't gauge it as a 10-foot putt or a 15-foot putt or a 20-foot putt. They read the putt with their eyes tell their hands what to do. So if you have a little bit of knowledge in there in regards to how far it is, an actual tangible number, and you were working yesterday on your distance control aspect piece, you're going to tie two pieces together and you're going to help your hands and your eyes work more efficiently. Secondly, is when you get on the side, about halfway through the putt, take a knee and look, okay? We talked earlier about how your eyes see topography and they see them better. Your eyes can't see downhill and uphill as well from behind or even from the other side. But if you get on the side of the putt midway through, you will really be able to tell what's the high point and what's the low point. So you'll be able to tell that your ball is above the hole, and that's going to be a downhill putt. You'll be able to tell that that hole is above your ball, and that's going to be an uphill putt. So that's what I always do, is I make sure that I get a rough guess in regards to how long the putt is, because when I'm walking to view it from the other side, I'm pacing it off. And two, I always stop in the middle of the intended putt, and I view the putt from the middle, get a cross section of it so that if I can see if it's up or downhill. I think a lot of people don't necessarily do that as much. They read the rights and lefts, they don't read the ups and downs. And then when you calculate all that information and you put it together, you should have a pretty good picture of what the putt's going to do. I think a lot of people chastise themselves for not being able to read putts, and they actually do a pretty decent job of it. But this secondary piece that comes in is the conditional factor. So the first is grain. Now, up in New England, up here in the Northeast, typically what you have is bent grass. A lot of the courses will have some blend of bent and POA. POA has come in over time. A lot of times when you see these, the greens up north, you'll see these like pock marks or blotches, which are different color greens. That basically it's a different strain of grass. So that's POA grass. POA tends to be a little bit more sticky, more coarse. So a lot of times if you have greens with POA on them, they become very difficult to putt. They're a little bit more bumpy than the bent grass is, and it's almost like if you putted a ball over sandpaper and then it went into smooth and then sandpaper and smooth. So you're going to get some kind of inconsistency in your ball rolls. A lot of the facilities have grooming methods to get the POA out, but and Dave here especially has done a really good job of that. So typically bent grass is pretty it's not very grainy, and it all kind of lies in the same direction. So a lot of it does account to mowing patterns. So if you're at a golf course that mows constantly in one direction, you'll get grain that starts to go constantly in that direction. But really bent grass follows the sun, so you can almost have different grains at different times of the day. I don't put a tremendous amount of stock into it. It's pretty easy to read. If the grass looks very light and almost shiny, that is down grain. It's going to be faster. If it's dark and looks like a dark green, that's into grain. It's going to be slower. Where this comes into play, if you play any golf down south, down in Florida, any of those courses down there, they have Bermuda grass. So Bermuda grass is a much coarser grass. You'll notice it if you're in the rough. Up here in the rough, all the grass lies in one direction. So you tend to either catch a really good lie or a really crappy one. Down there, the ball just goes right to the bottom. Bermuda grass grows in every different direction. On a given green, you can have multiple different grains. So there's a couple ways to tell this. One, you circle back to what we just talked about in regards to the color of the grass. If it's light, it's down grain. If it's dark, it's into grain. If you're questioning it, go to the other side. All the dark looks light, all the light looks dark. So it'll give you feedback there. Secondly, if you go to the cup, okay, Bermuda greens, when you go to the cup, when they cut the cup, there's going to be one side of the hole that's really rough and kind of looks chewed up, and there's going to be one side of the hole that's really crisp. The side that's chewed up is the side where the grass it's trying to grow there, but now there's no grass, so it's growing away from it. So the grain is going in that direction. So if you look at the cup and that chewed up spot is into you, it's going to be slow. If you look at the cup and it's on the left, the ball's going to go to the left. If you look at the cup and it's on the opposite side of the hole, that putt's going to be really fast. Okay. Secondly, in regards to conditional pieces, is weather. If it is very humid out, very sticky, that's going to affect the greens. The greens are going to be slower. They're going to hold moisture. If it's very dry out, you get a little breeze going, what's going to happen is the greens are going to get much faster. Okay, so you can have someone that mows them at the same height, does the same exact practices on one day, and have it be 2 feet faster on the stimp meter the next day based on conditions. So you have to put that into play as well. My recommendation in regards to being comfortable with the speed of greens and trying to figure out what they are that day is go make a couple putts on the putting green. If you're at a facility or they happen to be really fast that day, you feel uncomfortable with the speed, go find the fastest putt on the green. So go find the most downhill, the fastest putt, and only practice putt from that spot. Then when you get out on the golf course, it won't be as much culture shock. Vice versa, if you go to a facility where the greens happen to be really slow that day, go out, find the slowest putt you can find, putt that one before you get out on the golf course. When you get out there again, it won't be as much culture shock. You'll have you'll have trained your body to kind of self-adjust in that front. Secondly, or to go a little bit over towards alignment, I think people, to be honest, put way too much fault in themselves in reading greens, and not nearly enough fault in their alignment. And if someone misses a putt and they come walking off the green, I've never once heard someone say to me, "Oh, I lined up wrong." They always say, "Oh, I misread it." or, oh, I hit a bad putt. So they're blaming themselves for those two areas, when in actuality, you could have read the putt properly, you could have made a fantastic stroke, and your body could be aimed in the wrong direction. And when your body's aimed in the wrong direction, you're not going to putt it there. And if this happens more often than not in the period of a round, you continue to aim incorrectly, what's going to happen is, we want a result. So you will turn around and change your stroke to get that ball going in a better direction. And now you've got poor aim and really what I would consider to be a poor stroke, and it's not real good for consistency in your putting. So check your alignment, always check your alignment. What I see frequently is a lot of people will align themselves with their feet towards the hole. So get over here, with their feet at the hole, and then their putter at the hole. And what happens is, you can see it here, I get these converging lines. My feet are going in one direction, my putter is going in another direction, and that can't happen. If we do that, we're either going to make good putts and not hit the hole, or we're going to make bad putts to try and get it to go to the hole. So you always want to work what I would consider on railroad tracks, meaning we want our feet, for a right-handed golfer, slightly left of the hole, that putter and the ball track slightly right of the hole. So we want everything working on rails. If we can do that, then we can really make good strokes down our line and gain feedback from those strokes itself. When you practice, make sure that you fix variables, okay? If you fix your alignment and you fix reading greens, meaning if you're going from an area where you know what the putt's gonna do, so you've already read it, you've already done it multiple times, and you put alignment tools down, and then you practice putt, it'll tell you all you need to know about your stroke, because you know at that point it's not your alignment, you know at that point it's not your green read, you know that it's your putting stroke, and you can start to work on that. When you do it on the golf course and you don't have these areas fixed, you tend to blame things that may not be at fault. So that would be my one suggestion there, is pick a spot where you know what the putt's going to do, practice from there repeatedly. Don't go all the way around the putting green. Pick one spot, you know what the putt's going to do, practice there repeatedly. Secondly, when you're on the golf course, pay attention, all right? Pay attention to the people you're playing with. Pay attention to your shots, okay? You may not hit a shot that you want to, but you're going to gather information from that. So if the ball runs by the hole, you're going to see what it does. And really what the ball does around the hole is most important when you're reading these things. Because if I had a 20-foot putt, the first 10, 15 feet of the putt's going at a speed where it's going to be less influenced by what that green does. And then, the last part of it, when it's slowing down, it's going to have a lot more influence. So pay attention to that. Lastly, what we'll talk about today, what I really think is important in regards to putting, is having a pre-shot routine, right? I think it's important in all of the game, in every part of your bag, but especially in putting. So what is a pre-shot routine? Make sure you read your putt, make sure you get your line. Secondly, make sure you align yourself properly. So have a game plan in regards to those things. And when you align yourself, make sure you align yourself to what your read is, right? I see a lot of people that turn around, they get their read, that ball's, it's going to break about 2 balls to the left. They turn around, they aim their ball right where it needs to be going, and then they get aligned and they align themselves to the hole. So I like to use a frame of reference that's just in front of the golf ball. So if I see this putt's going to break, I'm going to pick a spot just in front of the golf ball on that line when I'm behind it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a nice imaginary line right there, and I'm going to make sure that that line and my feet are parallel to each other, like 2 rails on a railroad track. And if you can do that, then you're good. What I do personally to gather distance control, to make sure that my eyes and hands and that picture that I'm seeing with my eyes are translated properly when I'm looking down at the golf ball, is I will take 3 practice strokes where my eyes are looking at the hole, while I'm taking those strokes. Each one of those is ingraining a picture in my head. And then when I get over it, I get my alignment, I get my posture, and we work on what we did yesterday, which is just trying to make sure that we put the proper stroke on it. Watch that thing go in the hole. All right, thanks for joining me today. Looks like weather's going to get a little crappier towards the end of the week, so we'll probably be back inside for the rest of the week. But thanks for joining me today. Enjoy the nice weather, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.